Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily BizLink. Jane Cebrynski is back for a conversation on creating 10 moments. Jane, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Lindsay. I thought it was about time since we start every one of our conversations each week with a 10 moment. Hopefully people are catching on to that a little bit, but I thought I'd kind of give them a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what that's all about. So before we begin, give me a 10 moment.
My 10 moment would actually go back, I'm going to say from yesterday's conversation. So I did a quarterly check-in with my team members. And I think it was just really nice and refreshing to think and talk about big picture stuff and goals, because due to COVID-19, we've been so focused on like a weekly, daily, hourly basis that it's been hard to really think about what the future would look like. So it was a refreshing conversation, definitely a 10 moment for me.
Oh, yay. Well, I'm going to share a 10 moment too, which I don't normally do, but I have a great 10 moment for me, which is I got contact lenses and real glasses, which was a little bit of a struggle for me, but I didn't realize how bad my eyes had gotten. So now I feel like the world has opened up to me in a whole new way, and I'm seeing things I didn't see before. So that is a major 10 moment. I'm super excited. Experiencing contact lenses for the first time is a whole new world too. But that's my 10 moment.
That's awesome. Well, good. So as we dive into today's conversation, I've like implemented the concept of creating 10 moments within my personal and professional life. And I think one of the best tools that I've been introduced to. So for those individuals that don't know the first thing about it, let's say it's the first time that they're tuning in for one of our Daily BizLink episodes, how would you explain the concept of creating 10 moments?
I know. Well, of course, our coaching is in the language and methodology of sports. And so just like in sports, we have stats that tell us how well a team or an athlete might be doing, how many games won, how many points scored. And we use that same concept to train people to live a high stat life. So we just use a range from 1 to 10, 1 being low and 10 being high. And we say it's got to be at least an 8 to be great. And so the intention is to train ourselves to live a 10 life every day. And the first thing we have to do is begin to become aware of what our stats are. But if you think about it in terms of that 10 moment, right? So that 10 moment, oftentimes what you begin to see is somebody's energy gets elevated when they talk about it. There's a smile on their face. So it's a feeling that we're trying to create. And if you think in terms of sports, like 90% of an athlete's time is spent practicing. And then game day is that 10 moment, the butterflies, the excitement, the joy, the anticipation, maybe a sense of accomplishment. Those are the feelings that we're trying to create on a daily basis. But in life, every day is game day, and we treat it more like practice. So we wait for those 10 moments to kind of come in those hallmark moments, weddings, birthdays, baptisms, whatever it is. And so I want to just introduce some new thinking around how can you make every day feel like game day.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of this concept, but I think the one thing that I learned is that you can even take situations that you feel that you're not excited about. There's always those chores that you have to do, like maybe it's folding laundry, or at the office, it's that routine meeting that you're not that excited about going to every single week, whatever it is. Even looking at those situations and thinking to yourself, like, what can I do to make this situation even better? Like, if we go back to the example of folding laundry, is it doing it while you're sitting in front of your favorite TV show? Or, if you're going to that meeting, maybe making sure that you have your favorite kind of coffee with you for that conversation. Whatever that looks like, I think there are great ways that you can elevate it. Do you have any other examples that you can offer?
Oh, yes. And what I think is really important about it is, and this happened in my own life, if you ask somebody like stat up your life, they might go, oh, my life's great. It's like a 7 or an 8. But then when you really start to break it down, even breaking it down within a work day, not just taking the day, but breaking it down into the tasks and responsibilities and things like that that you have throughout the day, and kind of stat it up to go, how does this really look? And oftentimes, and it's no surprise, you know, some people realize, oh my gosh, my stats are really actually pretty low. And the goal is, okay, how do we elevate it then? You know, and lots of times there might be a little bit of pushback in the idea that, like, I'm not in control. My boss inundates me with emails every day, and I don't have control of it. But what I want to challenge everyone to do is think about, okay, but you do have control of how you approach it, or how you mix it up or change it in order to elevate it for you. And I think one of the, if it's new to somebody and they just are really struggling with, like, I don't get this, I don't know how to elevate my stats. So for example, I love sandwiches, and sandwiches are already a high stat for me. So they're like already an 8 or a 9. But when I become really intentional about, okay, how do I make this experience of my sandwich even better? Because I will literally ask myself the question, like, how do I raise the stat on this? Well, then the next thing I know, I'm adding pickles, and then I'm adding Doritos Cool Ranch potato chips. And then I'm, you know, eating it when it was cooler outside on my patio. And I literally could begin to feel more joy as I was challenging myself to go, okay, how do I raise my stat on this? And I think a little tip for people who aren't used to doing this, or aren't intentionally thinking about it, is first start by engaging the senses. So think about, you know, how can you use sight, sound, taste to elevate it? And like you said, maybe you bring in your favorite beverage. While you're at home, maybe you light one of your favorite candles. You know, I've got a picture of my 3 boys when they were little doing something that is super funny and super silly, and I love to look at it, and that just elevates my stat right there. So what do you think about that? I mean, so it's a new concept for a lot of people. It takes practice, it takes training, because it's not the way we're used to thinking.
Yeah, no, I think our follow-up conversation will have to be, if there are situations that we can't get it in a high stat, what do we do? Do we delegate or delete it? But maybe that's part 2 of this conversation. So as we're wrapping this one up, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Yeah, I just want to challenge everyone to ask themselves the question, how can I make every day feel like that game day experience? And I know we've got kids going back to school, so, and in different ways, right? So still asking ourselves the question, you know, how do I make that a 10 moment? How can I make it a 10 moment for myself? How can I make it a 10 moment for my kids? And the same thing when you've got calls you don't want to make, or you've got meetings you don't really want to participate in, whether they're on Zoom or in person. How can you elevate that stat for yourself? It's really about taking back some of that power for you to elevate your life.
All right. Thanks, Jane, for sharing all those great tips about creating 10 moments. Appreciate you being here today.
Yes, thanks so much, Lindsay. Make 10 moments today. Lots of them.